So we're here at Vose Library with Randy Fein, and we are so fortunate to have her work on exhibit here. And also, this presentation is about Randy taking us through her work and really explaining to us some of the process. Welcome, Randy.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so great to have my show here at the Vose Library, and it's wonderful to be in a place where there's so many other wonderful art books and my art as well. Um, this show is going to be up here at the library until the end of December, and through Zoom, you get to see it without leaving the comfort of your home. At the end of this pre-recorded session, we're going to be visiting my studio live in Camden, where I'm working on a tile commission for residents in Florida, and we'll also have a Q&A at that point as well. So here we are. We're at my show, and the series that we're looking at here were all done pretty much within the last 3 years. And I've been working in clay forever. It seems like I've actually been working in clay for 40 years. I'm actually using my college degree. I got a BFA in ceramics and a BS in art education at the University of New York at New Paltz. And from there, I went on to do art shows and wholesale shows, and I was selling to galleries and different shops all over the US, and launched my career doing clay, and really haven't stopped. I've been fortunate to do a lot of teaching as well, freelance teaching as a visiting artist in different schools all over Maine. But I want to start off by talking about this piece that I have in the beginning part of the show. So as a child, I was influenced by sumi painting, Japanese brushstroke, and I used to practice with my Japanese brushes and working with the fluid sense of the line. And I've kept that kind of sensibilities of working spontaneously, in a sense, with line. But living on the coast of Maine, I'm very influenced by the sea, and I have a fascination with lobsters, and also the fact that they perhaps could become an endangered species here in the state of Maine because of the warming of the Gulf of Maine. And so these lobster plates are kind of an ode to the lobsters. I have to say that when I was in France many years ago, I got to see the ceramics of Picasso. And Picasso worked on platters with his fluid lines, and I was influenced by the way he just worked on these beautiful clay pieces. And so many of these have that kind of Picasso-esque line work about them as well. So a little bit of Japanese, a little bit of Picasso, and a lot of Randy Fein on these. So this is my black and red lobster series. This piece is actually sold to a lucky person who saw it on Facebook while it was on the show. And I like the way these are laid out. They don't, the image doesn't take up the entire space. They're made to be used, and so that if you're serving something to your guests, or some kind of a serving platter, you can actually show part of the design and then have crackers or pate or whatever you choose to be serving on the side as well. So the design becomes part of the dinner, in a sense. I'm going to just talk briefly about these particular pieces. I call them my Starry Night pieces. They're probably tough to see. I'm fascinated with the night sky, and this is a glaze that I perfected that has ground glass in it, and when the glass melts in the kiln, it creates sort of these little starbursts. And so this is a set of 2 Starry Night platters. And all the work, like I said, is meant to be used. They're all, you can put them in your microwave and your dishwasher as well. I'm going to move on to another series of pieces. These are more recent pieces that I have done. So these are my frame tile pieces. And these are rigged up in the back to be hung up on the wall. Here at the library, we have them on little easels for display. And I always joke around that a lot of my work winds up being bathroom art. And working in ceramics, it's really the perfect type of material for a steamy room, such as the bathroom. So these pieces are individual pieces that are made to be hung on the wall. This is an interesting technique where it's an Italian technique called sgraffito, which means in Italian, I believe, to scratch. And I lay down different colors, in this case, purple, blue, and kind of a blue-green, and then I scratch through the surface. And you can't make a mistake. Like once you do that line, you're committed to that line. I have a sketchbook of images that sort of like my archive of work. And so from that archive, when it comes time to do a series of tiles such as this, I will look in my sketchbook and kind of get my chops down and my inspiration to start on this series. And I'm pretty pleased with how these came out with the frames. The frames really complement the designs as well. So, this is my Sgraffito tile series. We're going to just move over to these 3 plates that are on display here. They're each slightly different, and I have to say that one of the really cool things about my career in clay, I have to say, is that even though people might say I'm a potter, potters are really known for working in multiples. In a sense, what I do, each individual piece is its own unique piece. So even if I was going to do a series of these or a set of these lobster plates, they would all be a little bit different and unique. I'm one of those people that in my home, if I have a set of glassware, I want each glass to be an experience when I use it. I don't want them to be all the same. And I work that way in my studio as well. These particular pieces on each side are a little bit different technique, where I'm working with underglazes and silk screening these images, whereas this one is individually painted. And then I can repeat some of these images and collage them onto the surface. And then again, on this particular one, I left a blank area as well, so the design doesn't take up the entire eating surface. And I like the colors on this particular piece as well. We're going to look at one more of these lobster plates. This one is a little bit more colorful than the rest, and I do need to say that the type of materials that I'm working with is they're called underglazes, and basically they go underneath a clear glaze. And the crazy alchemy about working with these particular glazes, and those of you who have done ceramics would know this, is when you lay down the color, unlike a painter, what you see is not what you get. So when I'm painting this particular lobster plate, for instance, this orange is kind of sort of like a persimmon color, and then the blue is kind of a darker blue. And so the only way that you can kind of move forward and feel confident about doing painting with underglazes is just really to do a lot of it and do a lot of experimentation and keep notes about what happens with all these different layering as well. And I particularly like this piece because it has a lot of depth to it and a lot of great color as well. So that's another one of those kind of a dancing lobster, if you will. And then we're gonna just walk over to the other side of the bookcase. And we're gonna, on the zoom in on these little tiles here. I've been working with this technique of taking photographs and then digitizing them into decals, in a sense. So it's kind of a long process. Another one of those process things. So here comes out the teacher in me, working with an image. I'll digitize that particular image, and then I will take that image and then print it onto a substrate on my special printer that prints with an ink that is actually mostly iron oxide. And so that substrate carries that iron oxide image, and then in the third firing of my tiles, I can transfer that image onto the tile. So I can manipulate my photographs. I also do it with some of my drawings as well. And these particular creatures are near and dear to my heart. This is my cat Toby. And then this is also our dear Henry, the English Springer Spaniel, who has gone on to doggy heaven. But it's a great way to memorialize pets, and I did other people's pets as well. And just some of the other decals would be these as well. So I love mermaids, and this is a decal image on a field tile. This one's called Snow Mermaid. And kind of help like move that one a little bit. And a little bit of collage work on that too. Some shells found on the beach in Florida. And this is another lobster plate. Oh, I said I wasn't going to show any more lobster plates. Well, here's another one. And this one is a little bit different because I'm incorporating my hand painting along with the decal as well. So and it's an interesting way to do the registration on here because you have to paint the orange on first, fire that whole piece, and then come back later into another firing, and you lay that decal on top. I'm actually not making these anymore because they're so technical. And once I figured it out, I was kind of done with them. That's usually my mantra is, you know, I love the challenge. And then once I've got all the kinks out of it, I'm sort of done with producing them. So I think this is the last one of that particular series. We're going to move on to something really completely different. So these are my Jackson Pollock plates. And I love painting with long kind of horsehair brushes. And so in the studio, I'll set up this super messy place, like with a big box. And then I'll get all my paints out and in the Jackson Pollock style, just start going like splash everything. And it's a great way to get out some frustrations too. Cleaning up is not that much fun, but sometimes the results are great like this, not always. But this is another one of those plates, and they're even painted on the back too. So the red and black, I think, works really well. And these are pretty hefty plates too, very durable. So ode to Jackson Pollock. And yeah, so I know I wasn't going to talk about lobsters anymore, but this one's called Lavender Lobster. So I love the whole concept of the rarity of a blue lobster and how if you've ever seen a blue lobster, they're really gorgeous, and just the fact that it's unique, just like the work that I produce. And so a lot of times I'm working with blue lobsters for that reason. And so this is part of that series. And then again, you can see how these are also painted on the back too. I think the front of the plate and the back of the blade are just as important. Because when you're handling it, the intimacy of eating off of a plate and then washing it and touching it, it's all part of it. They're not just meant to be looked at. They're really, clay is so tactile, it's really meant to be handled and used, and hopefully in part of your everyday life as well. So I like painting the backs of them too. Like this one is kind of flowy and fun on the back too. So I think we're going to end here with, this is a cookie jar. I used to do architectural cookie jars, plus I love cookies. This is kind of a newer one where I incorporated different drawings. This is one of my tree woman drawings. This is, of course, stolen off of the web, the Da Vinci man. And again, my love of stars and space. And the Celtic symbols, the three spirals. And then the Minerva. And so this is a functional piece. And you know, it'd be nice to see it filled with cookies as well. So I know there were some questions that we wanted to address. Is there anything in particular that that I didn't cover that you'd like me to address, Deborah?
I think one of my questions would be, everything's so incredibly unique.
Thank you.
So just wondering about your process that sets it apart from other pottery, right? So what's the inspiration? What is the impetus for such unique pieces for you? And maybe it's artists, maybe it's other artists, but
I think if we go back to these pieces over here, the Jackson Pollock plates, it's, you know, when I think about other artists that have inspired me, I think about artists that have done things that are unique and groundbreaking. And it's not that that I really found Jackson Pollock's work is to be my ultimate muse, but I did like the way he worked, and it's so so tactile and visceral about the experience of working. And clay is very experiential. It's a process. It's you know, you need to work with the clay. You need to create the form. You need to dry that form. You need to kiln fire it. Then you have these blank canvases to apply color onto, and it's this long process that takes quite a while to finish, and you can't rush it either because of the physics of the material. So if you dry clay too quickly or you fire it too quickly, the material will basically complain and break, and you will wind up with nothing. So the clay also teaches you patience as well. And when you talk about what makes my work unique, let's say from other clay pieces, I guess I would have to say is that there's so many individual pieces, and the fact that over the 40 years that I have been working with clay, I've somehow managed to create a living out of not repeating myself over and over and over again. And that I feel that even though all of the work is different, stylistically they all kind of connect together. And so I feel kind of lucky to have found my way with clay so that I could express myself in this fluid manner. And I think that's what's one of the things that really makes my work unique from others. And I'd have to say that.
All right. So our audience has seen what you have to offer us here at Vose. Next, we're going to switch over to a live show at your own place. So stay tuned, everybody.
Okay, we'll see you at my studio.